G'day, Glenn Morris here again from the Smart Energy Lab, and today it's time for another unboxing. So VoltX sent me this lovely big cardboard box, and what's inside here, well, you can probably guess from the labelling on the front here, what we're looking at is a UPS. This is a 1500 watt UPS from VoltX. What's UPS stand for? Uninterruptible power supply. Basically, if you've got sensitive equipment, such as computers or things like medical equipment, that just cannot be interrupted for a second at all, not even a millisecond. That's what a UPS is. It also protects you from power quality issues. So in some areas, the grid voltage varies a bit, or the frequency even if you're off-grid, particularly if you have a generator. This unit can work with all of those. But let's get into the box. You don't want to just listen to me talking about a cardboard box in front of you. Well, wasn't that fun? Pretty easy to open. What have we got in the box? Okay, so we've got some feet. This can be mounted either horizontally like this or on its edge vertically. And these feet go on the side here for mounting it vertically. So there's feet for vertical mount. There's also what is humorously referred to as ears. These are metal brackets that screw to the side of the unit. Like this. It allows you to mount them in a data rack. So a 19-inch data rack, very standard size for a lot of data equipment. And that's a perfect application of something like this. A data rack usually has got sensitive equipment you don't want to have to reboot. So that's a really nice thing to have. So the feet, the ears, I'll put those in the box. And we've got some cables. Let's have a look. As usual, this is a pure unboxing. That means I haven't looked in the package at all. So you're learning with me what's in this container. So what have we got here? In lots of languages, telling us what's in the box. Okay. Oh, and no, actually it's instructions. So it says download the K-Power installation files, execute K-Power, check K-Power is running in the taskbar, download K-Power operating manual. So I suspect very strongly that this can integrate with a computer, for instance, using this USB cable here. That's a pretty common standard with UPS battery backup systems, is that if the UPS is running out of power, because these are designed really for short-term loss of grid power, and you're not around to shut down your computer, then this system can shut your computer down for you. If I can find where the plug is. There it is there. Okay, so probably want to see what I'm doing. I'll turn it around for you. So on the back here, we've got a Type A to the big chunky type connector for USB, and the USB plugs into your PC, and the PC has that software on it which will automatically shut down your computer within the time it takes for this to back up the power when the grid fails. So even when this runs out of power, if it's a long-term grid blackout, it will shut down your computer safely rather than just crashing it. We've also got another comms cable here. So this can integrate with SNMP as well as a relay card. And so there's a cable for what we've got here, RS-232 type communication. And there's a manual. All right, that's the basics that's in the box. But let's look at the back a little bit more. What do we got here? What we got is, I'll turn it around this way so you can see on this camera, we've got 8 IEC type connectors, or sometimes called kettle connectors. And these can therefore power 8 separate peripheral devices off the internal UPS backup of this. I tend to buy the little short extension ones, which go from IEC connector to a standard 3-pin plug. Little tiny short extension cords, basically, you can plug them all in there, unless you have appliances that actually have a IEC to whatever your appliance is connector. We've got a cooling fan. We've got some COM ports on the back here. And what do they say? This one is surge protection. Okay, so it's got an RJ45 network connection with surge protection, and we've also got a EPD jumper connector here. Now, EPD is something I'm not familiar with, so there you go. You might have to look that up yourself, or if I have time, I'll put it in the description. So there you go. Now, the front side, we better do the peel moment. Peel off the nice screen protector. I don't know why that's so satisfying, but it is. And we've got some front mode buttons here. So you can actually program this unit from the front. All right, so let's run through the tech specs of this unit. So it's 1500 VA. That's the technical way of describing the power output, because power factor will determine the actual watts. If you've got a resistive load, 1500 VA is 1500 watts, but if you've got a power factor of, say, 0.8, it's probably closer to 12 or 1300 watts of continuous power. Now, for me, this would be an ideal use for backing up my work computers. So my editing suite, for instance, draws around about 600 watts, so there's plenty of headroom there. It also has real-time power status LEDs and also an LCD screen. It's remote monitoring capable, so you can connect to this remotely to monitor it, to see its condition and operating state. It's got a smart battery management system. Now, I should mention one of the big features of this is for a fairly large UPS, I can pick it up. Look at that. How can I do that? Because it's got lithium batteries in. Now, I probably should have led with that, because it's one of my pet hates about UPSs. I've got quite a few on equipment here, and they traditionally would use small lead acid batteries, just a couple of 12 volt, 6 amp hour or 9 amp hour lead acid sealed cells. And lead acid batteries hate being left on charge all day long, and they don't last very long. You know, I typically get 1 or 2 years out of some of my UPS systems before the batteries fail. They're also really heavy. And the other problem with lead acid is it has a relatively small discharge capability for reasonable lifetime. Whereas, you know, say a lead acid battery, you might discharge at 50%, maybe 60 or 70% occasionally. But a lithium battery like this has got a much deeper discharge capacity, typically more like 90%. So that's probably what I'm really excited about this. So this is a UPS with lithium batteries inside, and they're really low profile as well. So it's got a bunch of characteristics I'll run through in terms of its disconnection from poor power quality. So things such as low line voltage transfer. That means if the grid voltage drops below 176 volts, plus or minus 5%, when there's 50 to 100% load on this unit, it will drop off at 176 volts. So that's kind of the low point. When it's at very light loads, it can even go down to 110 volts. So it's got a range where it will disconnect when the grid voltage is falling. So that's typical of a shutdown experience. In terms of comeback, that means coming back to allowing the grid to supply this unit. At 186 volts, it will come back online at 50 to 100% load, or come back on at 120 volts at 0 to 50% load. When it comes to high grid voltage, which is probably more of a threat to a lot of equipment just can't withstand high grid voltages, it will transfer at 300 volts at 0 to 100% load. So if the voltage spikes for even a millisecond to 300 volts, it will switch at any load level. And it will come back from having switched to battery mode once it falls below 290 volts at any load level. It's suitable for a wide frequency range, 40 to 70 hertz. So it can be used in a 50 hertz world, like here in Australia and in New Zealand, or in the 60 hertz world, like in the US and other parts of the world. There is a power factor in terms of the input power versus what it's actually consuming in terms of VA of 0.98. That means it's almost got a true power factor of 1, very close, 0.98, which is great. The bypass voltage, that means when it will bypass from a grid voltage point of 230 volts to 264 volts. So if the grid's outside of that range, it will bypass and supply the loads directly off the battery inside this unit. And on the low side, between 176 and 220 volts. So it's always trying to keep you in a nice, comfortable voltage range for your equipment. Somewhere between, the low 200s and the high 200s. It's always in that comfortable range when the grid is present. It also supports generator input. Now, that's kind of special because generators are characterized by having a typically very unstable frequency, unless they're a big industrial generator. And this can cope with that unstable input because one of the beautiful things about a UPS system, one like this, which is online, it means the input is isolated from the output. So you can have messy power coming in from the grid or from a generator, but the output is pure sine wave, pure 50 hertz within plus or minus 1%, and pure AC voltage plus or minus 1%. So you've got a very, very stable output voltage. So that's a big plus. And it's pure sine wave, of course. What about transfer times? Well, if the grid fails, it transfers instantly. So it's online all the time. So there is no break when the grid fails. If it wants to transfer to bypass mode, that means it passes the grid through. It'll take 4 milliseconds to come to bypass mode. But basically it means that your appliances never lose power at all, whether it's being powered in transfer mode directly from the grid through this unit or when the grid fails from the battery internally. So the battery itself is a nominal 48 volt lithium battery, 6 amp hour capacity. If you have this on full load, full 1500 watts of load on this unit, it can manage 7.5 minutes of backup. So that should be long enough to shut down equipment if there's an extended grid outage, and certainly gets you through those little power flicks that come from time to time. So the typical recharge time from having discharged this unit is about 4 hours up to 90% capacity. And in terms of overload, if you really want to push this thing, it can go beyond 1500 watts. It can go up to 105 to 125% in UPS to bypass for 1 minute, and 125% to 130% of its rating for up to 30 seconds in transfer to bypass. So that's pretty cool. And for less than 0.2 of a second, it can go even over 130%. That's sort of for appliances that have surgy startups. Some equipment, particularly motors and pumps, will have a bit of an inrush, and so that headroom is really good. So it copes with overload. As I said earlier on, it's got communication via USB, such as to your PC, but also SNMP cards or relay cards, which are an optional extra. The power quality requirements of EMC are met with the international standards IEC 62040-2. So that's good. So it's not going to make any interference on your grid. And it's also got built-in surge protection to IEC 61000-4-5. I'm nearly there. I think I've covered everything. But how much does it weigh? Remember I said it was pretty amazing that at 1500 VA UPS with up to 7.5 minutes of backup weighs 12.5 kilos. Yeah. Whoa, that's amazing. If it was lead acid, it would be more like 30 or 40 kilos. The dimensions, by the way, it's designed for 19-inch rack mounting, so it's 440 mils wide, 460 deep, and 86.5 millimeters high. So I'm really excited by this VoltX UPS. They do have a range of sizes, by the way, so check out the link in the description and you can see some other options they have on their website. So thanks very much to VoltX for sending this to me. Anyway, usual thing, thumbs up and subscribe and all that stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching. Check it.